What's up, sports nutrition? This is Mr. Honey with your day one notes for sports nutrition on distance learning. So, the good thing is we're here in the studio. We got this nice green screen, so we can literally have class anywhere. In fact, how about we have class at the Panther Stadium? Boom, there we go. All right, cool. So, if you guys go ahead, take out your notes. You guys can go ahead and do this. This is all in Canvas. If you picked up a paper copy, you have it there. And let's say you didn't get a chance to pick up a paper copy, or you do not have, for whatever reason, access to Canvas, but you have the access to this video, you can go ahead and then, write your notes down and then just take a picture of it and send it to me, to the email Mr. Honea, M-I-S-T-E-R, @gmail.com, or correction, MISTERHONEA @gmail.com, and send a picture of that through text, and you'll get your credit. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this started. Now for today, on your notes section, we're going to be talking about BMI. Many of you already have an idea of what this is because of maybe taking foods, maybe you took health and wellness, and then obviously we've seen this in watching Super Size Me and Fathead. So we're going to go ahead, do this. It's going to be a very short set of notes, trying to make this first day of e-learning easy for us all. And then we're going to go through this process, and then you guys have your assignment. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is BMI? All right, so BMI stands for Body Mass Index. All right, Body Mass Index. And basically what it does is it is one number that measures a person's weight relative to their height and nothing else. It literally measures the weight relative to the height. So if we were to consider this like this, it would be like a number that would measure, how much I weigh relative to how tall I am. But, it's just this one number that measures that thing. And a lot of people, criticize BMI. They say like it's not a good measurement. However, typically, BMI is typically a very good indicator of the amount of body fat you have. For what it is by no means perfect. It is by no means perfect. But for what it is, we all don't have access to fancy scales that can measure our body fat content. We all don't have access to, skin fold calipers that can measure our body fat content. So a lot of times BMI, hey, it's the best thing we got. All right. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and move in and start talking about how we calculate BMI. So when you calculate BMI, there is a formula you can use. Now, I understand there's BMI calculators everywhere. But the big thing is I want you guys to make sure that you understand how this stuff is calculated and how we break it down. So there is a formula. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your height in inches and square it. All right, so for those of you who are unfamiliar with what squaring means, math term basically means you multiply the same number by itself. So if you're 60 inches tall and you need to square your height, it's 60 times 60. 60 multiplied by 60. If you are 55 inches tall, it's 55 times 55. That is basically what squaring is. So you multiply a number by itself in inches in terms of BMI. So next you're going to take your weight and divide it by your height. So it's going to be your weight divided by your height. So basically what this means is you take how much you weigh and then divide it by your height. So for example, if you weigh 200 pounds and your height is 60 inches tall, you would be 200 divided by 60. So 200 divided by 60. Easy enough, right? So then what happens is you then take that number. It's going to be like some weird 0.0 whatever number. You're going to have like a really tiny decimal number. And you're going to take that number, multiply it by 703. That's just the number that we got. Multiply it by 703. And then you will have a number left over. And that number is your BMI. So we're going to go through this process and talk about how we're going to go ahead and calculate this. All right. So let's practice. So let's talk about a person who, just as I mentioned, 6 feet tall and weighs 200 pounds. So the first thing we want to do is square our height in inches. So a lot of people wonder, I got 6 feet. How do I convert that to inches? The trick that I always use is if it's feet, multiply by 12. 6 feet times 12 is going to bring out your number of inches. If, say, for instance, it was like 6'2", 6 feet times 12, and then you add those 2 inches on. All right. So that is how this process is going to be. So as we see, we have 6 feet times 12 equals 72. So this is 72 inches. So already we've got our height in inches. So the next step, we're going to square it. So we got to square. So we're taking 72 inches times 72 inches, and we're coming out with a huge number. 5184. 5184. 5,184. Big number, all right? So now we've got the inches that have been squared. We've got that big number. What's next? All right, you want to take your weight and then divide that by 5,184. So you take your weight, 200 pounds, divided by 5,184, and you come up with this weird long number. 0.0385, yada, 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 yada. All right, it's a long number. It is what it is. Here we are. So what do you do with that? Take that number, multiply it by 703. 0.0385, yada, 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 times 703 is 27.12. And that is your BMI, 27.12. Easy enough. Use a calculator. If you got your phone, use it. Laptops come equipped with calculators. Use a calculator. All right. There is no point in you guys trying to do all this math by hand. So use a calculator. So what do we do with this number? All right. So what we're looking at is you eventually have where your BMI numbers are. So if your number that you came up with, this 27.12, comes out to be between 19 and 24, seems to be a normal number, normal BMI. In BMI numbers, 25 to 29 is overweight. So in this case, a person who is 6 foot tall and weighs 200 pounds is considered overweight because their BMI is 25 to 20, between 25 and 29, 27.12. I think that was it. Yep. So this person is overweight. Now, if they had a BMI of 30 to 39, they'd be obese, and then obviously 40 and over, extremely obese. And just for instances, 19 to 24, anything below that obviously would be considered underweight. All right? We get this. All right. Very simple. Very simple. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the problems. There are problems that come with BMI and using it as a measure with calculation. So the big problem with BMI is it does not factor in where the weight lies. In other words, we saw this, for example, in Fathead when we watched it. It does not factor in where the weight lies. In other words, you could be the most fit person ever. Like, you could be huge, just like muscular, strong, and just literally like 99% muscle. And because muscle does weigh more than fat, when you step on the scale, you may be, for example, 5'10" and 210 pounds. By that measure, you're probably going to be in the obese or even overweight range, the overweight and obese range. Because once again, it's not factoring where the weight lies. It's only factoring that you weigh something. And if muscle weighs more than fat, you've got people who are extremely muscular who literally they weigh more only because they have a lot more muscle. So the big thing is when looking at BMI, you always want to consider the person's lifestyle and their appearance. If they don't appear to have a large amount of muscle, then you know that right there might be a factor in considering, is this BMI more related to the amount of body fat or is it more related to the amount of muscle? So let's talk about the BMI of The Rock. And this basically explains how where BMI and the problem is. So we all know about Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You know, he's a wrestler, once played football. Now he's a crazy, popular actor. He's like in Moana, did the voice of Maui. So, very, very popular. And the dude is huge, okay? He is 6'5", 260 pounds. And a lot of times when people look at him and they think, oh, it's The Rock, he's like crazy muscular. I bet his BMI is normal. Let's find out. So, the BMI of The Rock, 6'5", 260 pounds. First thing we're going to want to do is convert the 6'5" inches to complete inches. So what you're going to do is take that 6 times 12, because remember it's 12 is that conversion number, converting inches and feet. So 6 times 12 is 72 inches. So we've already solved the feet problem, the foot problem, right? So then you also want to add the 5 inches that was also there. So 72 plus 5 is 77 inches. All right, so we have 6 times 12 is 72 inches, and then that 72 plus 5 is 77. So now we're going to square it. So 77 times 77 brings you to this huge number, 5,929. That's a big number. So you've got this huge number, and that's going to be the number that we're going to be using here. So once we're here, we're going to want to take our weight and divide it by that big number. So 260 pounds divided by 5,929 brings you to 0.04385. All right, 0.04385. So now we've taken this weight, we've divided it. Now, if you guys remember, what we're going to take with this little weird decimal number is we're going to multiply it by what? 703. Which brings us, so 0.04385 times 703 brings us to 30.8. 30.8. If you guys remember what this is, all right, 30.8, that means that if you have a BMI of 30 to 39, you are considered obese. So by the BMI of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he's obese. And this right here proves that BMI isn't always the best indicator of body fat, because once again, it's using his overall weight. By those standards, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is obese. He has an unhealthy body weight. It's not good for him. Yeah. This concludes our notes for today. Very easy. Send them through Canvas when you're done. You can go ahead also, if you've done it out on a sheet of paper, you can take a picture of it and email it to me through text. Just text it to the email mrhunia@gmail.com, and then we'll move on to the assignment portion of this. The assignment is very easy. It is complete the BMI calculation worksheet, and I will go ahead and pull this up so that way you guys have an idea of what to do. So the BMI calculation worksheet, basically the directions are: calculate the BMI of each person and circle whether they are of a healthy weight, normal weight, overweight, obese, or extremely obese. All right, so what you're looking at is, this is, for example, 1. Jimmy weighs 210 pounds and is 5'10". So what you're going to do is, on a separate sheet of paper, do whatever you need to do, you're going to calculate his BMI, and then based off the number that you got, you're going to look back into your notes. And then from there, you're going to figure out, based on that number, is he healthy, is he overweight, is he obese, or is he extremely obese? And you can circle, highlight, underline, whichever one. So you have 5 people here. And once again, after this video concludes, I'm going to be putting up little screenshots so that way you can see what the problems are, and then you can do them at home if you did not pick up a paper copy. But at this point, you guys can go ahead, get started. You've got all the time in the world to get this done. So, yep, that's pretty much all I have for today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.